destroyed by wars and massive fires, by dissent crafted and spread on purpose, by greed and willful ignorance and the lack of faith in the power of kindness. May the process of building our connections restore that faith and support us to share it out in the world. May all that has been shared here strengthen and renew the bonds of this beloved community.
In the words of Julia Hamilton, "Spirit of life, we need each other. We need one another to sit together in the dark when the electricity is out and the wind is howling. We need one another to wade through the water with nothing but an old canoe and the will to save as many lives as possible. We need one another to help tear down the moldy, rotten walls and begin to put up new ones in the house that our grandfather built. We need one another when the sky clears, and yet we are still so filled with stories that if we don't tell them to someone else, we might hurt ourselves. We need one another to make us laugh on the first good day in a long while. And we need one another so that when our own little spring of hope dries up, there is a community well from which we can drink that will keep us going until the thirst is over, the worst is past, and we are able to survive even when the rains come again. We will now have a moment of silence.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. Be still.
In our opening reading by Lynette Lowe and Unitarian Universalist minister John Von Rue, they offered these words for our consideration. We come together as individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken, with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. I like this image of coming together with our different life experiences to create a beautiful mosaic of community. Although I must say, if I were author of these words, I wouldn't emphasize the word broken. I don't see anyone in this room as broken. But if it feels like an apt descriptor for you in this moment, by all means claim it, and my hope is that this feeling will shift for you. When we come into community, we bring our past, our present selves with us. We bring our life experiences that have hurt us and made a mark upon us. We bring those aspects of ourselves that can be challenging to others. And we bring our gifts, our talents, our capacity to give and receive love. One of our well-known Unitarians from the 19th century, Ralph Waldo Emerson, believed that the individual cannot be understood in isolation. He said, "Every being in nature has its existence so connected with other beings that if set apart from them, it would perish." This sounds to me like an early Unitarian recognition of the interdependent web that our Unitarian Universalist seventh principle recognizes. And the Transcendentalists came by it through their interest in Hinduism and Buddhism. We do not thrive in isolation. We need each other. By way of illustration, we don't need to go any further back than a couple of years ago, and all of our struggles with and the impacts of isolation during the pandemic. Community holds us as we search for truth or meaning. That's our fourth UU principle. I know it helps me to have a religious community as I explore the big questions about belief and meaning in life. My own explorations have evolved through my lifetime based on my personal experience, but also honed by the wisdom I have gathered in association with the ministers who have served this congregation and with the members of our congregation. As Reverend Samaya lifted up last week, being in a community is a gift, but it can be challenging. Sheila's crayons certainly illustrated that this morning. As Reverend a number of years ago, a spiritual teacher of mine gave me some advice about community when I was going through some frustration. It was something that happened here at my spiritual home, the Calgary Unitarians, and frankly, I can't even remember what it was now, but it must have seemed really important at the time. We all have those moments. So this is what I ran by her. Maybe I would be better off just meditating, doing inspirational reading, and other spiritual practices on my own. She advised me that my spiritual growth edge was to be found in community, not in isolation. I was annoyed.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, living in a cave seemed appealing at that moment. I'm not sure what my husband and children would have thought. I guess I was envisioning them bringing me food as I explored the inner and outer dimensions of life. So I felt a little grumpy, hearing that spiritual and personal growth for me required the challenge of being in community and not the life of a hermit. However, upon reflection, I recognized the truth of this insight from my advisor. I have, over the years, worked with a number of spiritual teachers, and I've learned beneficial practices, but truly putting them into practice involves being involved in community. I'd like to share with you some examples of the way my involvement with Calgary Unitarians has facilitated my spiritual and personal growth. And I think you will see that relationships with others are a necessary condition of their development. Practicing being a non-anxious presence, developing deeper listening skills, learning to say no and setting boundaries, recognizing some of my unhelpful behavior patterns. Now, these are works in progress, and as a human being, there are times when I disappoint myself, and I know I disappoint others from time to time as well. I have also learned that an important aspect of a spiritual practice is not just about me and my relationship to spirit, but about engaging with others with an open heart. I believe there's a powerful synergy created when individuals come together and share open-heartedly according to their interests and their talents. Sharing my interests and my talents and my doubts and struggles in community has made a difference. I don't want to sugarcoat this. It's not always easy, because when we bring our whole selves to community, we sometimes struggle to fit those pieces into that metaphoric mosaic. It's also critical that that mosaic not be mortared into place. There must be flexibility to shift the pieces and to make space for all. One of the challenges is to move away from privileging the individual, but at the same time remaining deeply committed to the well-being of individuals. Our overculture, to use a term from Jungian psychologist Clarissa Pinkola-Estes, our overculture emphasizes the individual and rights over our responsibilities to each other. At Calgary Unitarians, we can practice, and I emphasize practice, our second UU principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and then take it out into the world. Our sixth UU principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Our church community is a place where we can gently encourage each other in our endeavors to make the world a better place, and we can find a soft spot to land when the going gets tough. Our community of Calgary Unitarians celebrates when one or more of us experiences joy, and grieves with us in our times of sorrow. It is a place where meaningful friendships can grow from casual acquaintanceships. Let us celebrate together the beauty of what we each bring to community and the gift of being in community. May it be so.
Our musical interlude is a song that in my year and 5 days here, I have not yet come across. It's quite beautiful. You may know it, you may not. I'd like to, if we could advance one slide, please, Christopher. I'm just going to teach you the very ending of this. If this is unfamiliar, at least you'll be able to join in on this. Ignore the echo part. If this is that's useful for you if you've heard this before, but we're just going to ignore my messy addition of the echo. Have a listen to this. 1, 2, 3. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. You want to just try that with me? Please. And here we go. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Beautiful. And that's how each verse ends. Please rise in body or spirit. If you want to follow along with the music, this is hymn number 1054, found in the teal paperback hymnals. I will teach this thoroughly on a future Sunday. Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our secret differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let all in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house for our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
Our current focus on the idea of community is bringing with it a challenge to us all. How can we act and interact as a group dedicated to Unitarian Universalist principles and to welcoming differences without running into barriers around how we envision ourselves? As we talk about expanding the congregation to welcome more people of diverse ages, genders, and ethnicities, can we see in our imaginations how future versions of us might look? As Reverend Samaya has mentioned, the prevailing culture that surrounds us and resists change, even as we recognize and point out what can be improved, lives in the metaphoric DNA of history, where it's influential because it's invisible. That history haunts us by keeping us expecting what's familiar. Here's an example that's been haunting me lately at the conclusion of a long career in the academic world. Perfectionism. Can anyone relate? Yeah. University professors, even more than school teachers, are trained to seek and expect excellence in their own and their students' work. Academic excellence is a cloth strongly woven from clarity of thought, curiosity, research skills, accurate interpretation of evidence, and facility with descriptive language. Academics rejoice in excellence, and sometimes also in the competitive structures to which it leads. We compete for grants and recognition as our students compete for grades in a system that's long on tradition and often short on creativity. We learn to judge other people's actions, opinions, and experiences. We also learn to judge our own, walking a short road to chronic anxiety. Yes. The past 7 years in this community have been showing me ways to be part of a healthier system, one in which everyone's efforts can be valued, even when they don't produce perfect results. It's a learning process with a lot of right answers. Among the right answers are kindness, reliability, listening, accepting differences of identity and opinion, and solving community problems in ways that maximize enthusiasm and minimize discontent for as much of the community as possible. I leave you to imagine what wrong answers might be, and then to forgive yourself and others for slipping into them, because we all do that. It's like the reality of combating prejudices. We all have them because our individual and cultural nervous systems are conditioned by the values we grew up with, even if we've consciously renounced them. Yeah. We learn to recognize what they are and why we have them. Then we question them and avoid putting them into practice. That's how you overcome prejudice. As a cultural historian, I'm aware that changing the attitudes and habits of a whole community requires creation of space for new participants and new energies, as well as courage, and time for adjustment. Current media are speeding the process considerably, but that's not always a good thing. In our current situation, it's tempting to see this change as a generational shift, waiting for the veterans of every job to just back off and let younger people take over, right? But there's a better, because more effective model to use. Recent research on teamwork in everything from business to medicine shows that teams with a mixture of ages, genders, ethnicities, and personalities are more creative, cooperative, and effective than teams that lack such variety. As members of a minority faith, we struggle with describing our collective identity to outsiders and maybe even to ourselves. Can we grow into seeing ourselves as a community of faith, united in comfort, not just acceptance, but comfort with diversity? Yes, it takes work, but we're good at that.
Our closing song is one you know, okay? Spirit of Life, you can find it in your gray hymnals, number 123. Please rise in body and or spirit, your choice, and sing with me, Spirit of Life. We'll sing through it twice. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all those stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me, Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our closing reading this morning is from Eric Walker Wickstrom. If you are who you were, and the person sitting next to you is who they were, if none of us have changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, zendo, mosque, is to help people grow. We do this through encounters with the unknown in ourselves, in one another, in the other, whoever or whatever that may be for us, however hard that might be, because these encounters have gifts to offer. So, may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but who you could be. So, may we all.
In the words of Amy Zucker Morgenstern, when we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us. multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world. Thank you to everyone who made this service possible. It takes many hands to create our sacred space. Thank you to Gavin and Amanda, Sheila, Christopher and Rebecca in the booth, Sophie and Alberto, ushers, Mariana Louise for the beauty of the space, Arlene on slides, Elise in the office, and of course Reverend Samaya, who reliably saves us every Sunday from Sunday morning chaos. Please be sure to join us next week when Reverend Samaya will be speaking on embracing discomfort as a path to growth and connection. This is the third service of 4 on the theme of community. After the postlude plays, please stay and visit us in Wickenden, visit with us in Wickenden, the room straight through the Barker room, or where you saw the membership table. For those of you online, there's a link being put into the chat right now, or in a few seconds, for you to join another room for conversation. And now let's take a moment to wave to all those on Zoom. Hey, Zoom.
Hello, goodbye.
All right, over to you.
Now, it's not typical that our postlude is sung. It is very short. It is a 45-second flight to Paris. I will invite up at this time, for the third and final time this morning, my friend Amanda Hillstad. And I'd like to invite you all next Saturday. Amanda and I are doing a recital here in this very space at 4 p.m. next Saturday. Tickets are available in the order of service you were emailed. They're available in our e-news, and they will be available cash only at the door. Thank you so much.
Are we ready to go to Paris?
Let's go.
Keep
Lovely morning.
Appreciate it.